Welcome to another episode of The Brand Called You, a podcast and podcast show that brings you leadership lessons, knowledge, experience, and wisdom from thousands of successful individuals from around the world. I'm your host, Ashutosh Garg, and today I'm delighted to welcome a very senior and accomplished professional from London, UK, Anastasia Volkova. Anastasia, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Ashutosh, for having me.
Thank you. Anastasia is the founder of Mental Gym. Uh, she's a psychologist operating at the cutting edge of intersection of psychology, ancient wisdom, and business performance. Anastasia is also the managing director of Purple Squirrel Recruitment. So, before we start talking about the Mental Gym, tell me about your own journey in brief.
Absolutely, Ashutosh. So thank you very much for having me today. I'm really thrilled to be here to talk to you and about my company, Mental Gym. I've had a quite journey myself, climbing corporate ladders, building businesses from scratch, and adapting to life in 4 different countries. So the UK is the 4th country I'm living in. And this experience have given me a unique perspective on how our minds work through challenges and opportunities. I studied at Leiden University in the Netherlands. This is where I got my master's degree in occupational health psychology. And Leiden University is actually quite a remarkable place. It's the oldest university in the Netherlands, and it hosted quite incredible people in the past. For example, Winston Churchill spent some time there. Albert Einstein gave lectures there, and even the Dutch King Willem Alexander was a student there.
Amazing.
I also worked at Amsterdam University, and I published research on how psychology applies to our work lives and our workplace well-being. Unfortunately, sometimes our minds can get stuck in negative patterns, and it's very hard to get out of it because negative information receives more weight for our minds for survival. But on the bright side, our minds can be also trained to think positively. This is why in my work I combine solid psychological research with practical stuff that actually works in the real world. I'm not only about concepts. I use them, of course, in the work, but it's not only what sounds good on paper, it's what delivers in reality.
Correct.
Yeah, and me and my team, we try everything ourselves, and then we give people tools that actually work. Basically, it's like having a personal trainer, but for your mind.
Yeah, well said, well said. So let's talk a little bit about mental health. What are, in your view, and based on all the amazing work that you have been doing, what are some of the top mental health challenges employees face in the workplace?
Yeah. So since I think since COVID and since we work a lot remotely, certain challenges have exacerbated. But the biggest mental health challenges at work that hurt how employees feel and how they work, actually. The biggest one is an ongoing stress that seems to never end. And I think it's became almost fashionable to be stressed, because if you come to work and you're relaxed, people start asking, why are you so relaxed? Do you have nothing to do? So stress became ongoing, kind of in fashion, as I mentioned. It's too much work, tight deadlines, a lot of pressures outside work as well. As I mentioned, lots of uncertainty. The world is changing very rapidly, and it makes people stressed not only at work, but also outside work. This leads obviously to burnout. People feel exhausted. They stop caring about their work, and obviously as a result, they cannot perform very well.
Well said. Anastasia, you're also the founder of the Mental Gym. Can you explain the concept of the Mental Gym and how does it operate?
Yes, absolutely. So Mental Gym operates similarly to a physical gym, but for mental fitness. You could explain that as just people go to physical gyms, they regularly build their strength and endurance. Your mental gym provides you exercises, tools, and coaching to strengthen your cognitive abilities, your emotional regulation, and your psychological resilience. Our approach combines psychologists like myself with our unique methodology. We look at the fact that 95% of our operational mind activity is unconscious, which leaves only 5% to conscious thought.
Right.
And this is how our 4D mental mastery methodology helps employees create their mindset for success, aligning conscious with subconscious, aligning them together. And this is how we make positive change not only possible, but also sustainable.
How interesting. Thank you. And what, in your view, are some of the common misconceptions businesses have about workplace well-being?
Yeah, there are quite a few actually. So I think first major misconception is that workplace well-being is about certain perks, like offering yoga classes or free snacks or meditation rooms. And many businesses thinks it's a comprehensive well-being program, while actually it only scratches the surface of fundamental elements that impact mental health, such as workload management, psychological safety, and giving people the feeling that they do meaningful work. So that's one. I suppose another one is misconception is viewing well-being as separate from business strategy. Many organizations treat mental health programs as a nice to have rather than something that drives performance, innovation, and employee retention. And this is why sometimes businesses offer one-off trainings or annual workshops that do not create lasting change.
Right.
Businesses don't understand that mental fitness requires consistent practice and systematic support to develop.
Well said. What was the inspiration to create a methodology at the intersection of psychology, neuroscience, and business?
Yeah, so working in corporations myself for over 20 years in HR and having managed teams myself has shown me how significant mental well-being issues have become, especially lately. This is why I decided to be a part of solution, leveraging my psychology background with my business background and expertise to make a real difference. We are helping companies tackling retention and burnout challenges head on with remarkable results.
Wow. Wow. You few minutes back, Anastasia, you were talking about the 4D mental mastery methodology. Tell me more about this and how does this drive behavioral change?
Absolutely, Ashutosh. The 4D mental mastery methodology has 4 steps. So whatever issue we tackle, whatever tool we use, we follow those 4 steps as a core of our method. First, we help you detect your thought patterns and your triggers that make you react in a certain way. Then we help you decode how your unconscious mind influences these patterns and triggers, giving you insights into your mental blueprint. Then we teach you to divert these negative patterns using tools and techniques. And finally, you learn to direct your mind with purpose. So your thoughts are not just randomly running through your mind, but you direct them where you need them to be, becoming the master of your thoughts rather than a servant of your thoughts.
Great
This is
response.
why we call it mental mastery.
Absolutely. Fantastic. My next question, Anastasia, is that what role does mindfulness play in high performance corporate cultures?
Yeah. So, mindfulness, in my opinion, serves as a foundation for high performance corporate cultures because it teaches people to focus their attention to be fully in the present moment without judgment. So, in fast-paced businesses, mindfulness would help employees to strengthen their ability to concentrate on one thing at a time instead of infamous multitasking that
Yeah.
never works. It reduces errors and improves quality. Also, when teams practice mindfulness, they listen better during meetings. They do not react automatically because a lot of arguments at work happen because people have misconceptions to a certain reaction of a colleague, and they respond to challenges usually negatively rather than responding with clarity and
Right.
avoiding automatic stress reaction. So this altogether creates a shift from culture of constant busyness to purposeful productivity.
Wow. My next question is that what role does stress navigation play in building resilient organizations?
Right. So stress navigation is essential, of course, to organizational resilience because it transforms how people respond to challenges. Challenges will always be there. It's part of life, part of the puzzle. But
Correct.
rather viewing this stress as something that you must eliminate, resilient organization develop the capacity to look at the productive stress while mitigating harmful stress. The distinction is very crucial because a bit of pressure, a bit of drives innovation, drives growth and better performance, while chronic or excessive stress depletes performance.
Amazing. What are some of the key principles from ancient wisdom that you have learned, which are applicable to today's workplace challenges?
Oh, yes, it's my favorite topic, and there are plenty. Like, we never need to reinvent the wheel. Everything we need is
Everything.
actually
I
stored
agree.
in the past, in
Right.
those techniques from 10,000 years ago. So, for example, from Buddhism comes the principle of impermanence, which helps employees navigate constant change and uncertainty by understanding that nothing stays the same forever. This mindset helps people and organizations to look at the organizational change or reorganization as less threatening. Then mindfulness practices, they teach people to focus their attention in the present moment. From Kabbalah, we also look at the Kabbalah from Judaism. It's the concept of called tikkun olam. It's repairing the world through personal actions. So it helps employees connect their daily work to a greater purpose, addressing the widespread problem that we have right now, that people feel disconnected and they do not feel that they make a meaningful impact.
Right. Right. Amazing. Can you also talk to me a little bit about the link between unconscious mind activity and workplace decision making?
Absolutely. So, as I mentioned a bit earlier in our conversation, most of our thinking and reactions happens without us realizing it. So, I will repeat it again because it's so important to understand it
Right.
that 95% of our brain activity occurs below our awareness. We are literally always doing something automatically, which means we often make decisions without knowing why we make them.
Yeah.
In the workplace, this happens when employees follow their gut feeling without understanding in reality what drives that gut feeling. And I'm not saying that the gut feeling is always wrong. Sometimes it's right. However, our brain constantly processes information based on our past experience and emotional memories, which creates a shortcut that speeds up a decision. And sometimes it leads to a good path, but sometimes it leads to a bad path. And you see sometimes even little things like temperature in the room, feeling rushed, or even how information is presented to us can change our decision without us knowing
Right.
it.
Well said.
Yeah.
Absolutely. My next question for you, Anastasia, is that what strategies can individuals use to manage anxiety and stress effectively?
Absolutely. There are two things that you could do. One is at individual level, and of course, then what can you do in the moment? Stress over time. So when you're feeling stressed at work in the moment, there are several things that can help you. One of them is 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 technique, which is also called five senses. This is where you notice five things that you can see, four things that you can touch, three things that you can hear, two things that you can smell, and one thing that you can taste. This brings your mind back to the present moment when worry has pulled you into the future, and you pull yourself back into present where everything is fine and you're safe. And of course, for long-term stress management, you have to make consistent effort.
Yeah.
And this is what we teach in Mental Gym. And sometimes 5 minutes a day, for example, speaking to yourself kindly, or doing journaling, or writing yourself a thank you letter will bring you to that positive mindset and let you snap out from either from the past, which already is gone, or from the future, which is still uncertain and doesn't yet exist.
Amazing. How does emotional intelligence tie into managing mental health challenges at work?
So, emotional intelligence helps people handle mental health challenges by giving them tools to understand and manage their feelings. So, we try to be very logical at work, but in our core, we are emotional beings, and we're trying to disconnect our emotions to be very, to perform. But in the end of the day, we cannot switch it off. So when we teach employees when they're feeling stressed or anxious to recognize this feeling, when they get triggered, they can address these feelings better. And being able to name an emotion and understand what causes it can also help people to take care of themselves in a day-to-day life. So I think emotional intelligence creates workplaces where it's safe to talk about mental health struggles in a constructive way. This builds also connection between people. And as a result, a lot of research shows it protects against mental health problems in the future.
Well said. How do you ensure that the change initiated in your sessions is sustainable in the long term?
Yeah, that's a very good question, because this is the whole unique selling proposition that we are offering with Mental Gym. So in order to make it last, I ask employees to focus on small daily practices instead of just teaching ideas. So we explain why certain things work, so to break away from the critical mind. And we offer very small exercises, like 5 minutes a day, to make them fit easily into schedules, and also that people do not feel overwhelmed, because if a brain is overwhelmed, it shuts down, it says it's not important, I don't have time, it's silly, I don't want to do it. So we offer something very small, and we increase it over time when the brain to overcome the brain resistance. We also create support system like body check-in and team challenges that help people stick with their practices when their motivation dips. So it's just like building physical strength that requires regular workout in the gym.
Right.
We also offer mental fitness with consistent practice that lasts. Lastly, I think it's important to mention that we always measure improvements so people can see their progress over time, because you may not see anything for 2 weeks, maybe not for 2 months sometimes, but when you slowly measure progress, you do regular check-ins, it motivates people to continue, because then they see, oh, I handle stress a bit better, or I made a clearer decision, and that motivates people to keep practicing.
Amazing. In the last few years, we've had COVID, we've had technology changes. I wanted to ask you, what trends are you observing in corporate mental fitness? And how is this whole thing evolving? And where do you see this going?
Right. So one of the biggest shifts I see is how deeply mental health is becoming integrated into company cultures. A lot of bigger companies drive that change, and that makes middle-sized companies and smaller-sized companies also to look into it, which is a really great shift.
Yeah.
So mental health, especially in big companies, is no longer a side issue. Now it's a core part of leadership training, performance reviews, and team dynamics. Companies also move towards personalized support using AI-powered apps and customized therapy options that can cater for individual needs. And of course, with hybrid work becoming more common, businesses also try to figure out how to address these unique mental health challenges that come with it. And finally, there is a big focus on preventative care now, which is very pleasing. So we are moving from reactive mode
Yeah,
to proactive mode.
well said.
And basically, we would like to prevent issues before they happen. And that's a very nice shift. It's a slow shift,
Right.
unfortunately, but it is happening.
It is happening. Well said. So, and I still have time for two more questions for you. How
Sure.
does the stigma around mental health impact workplace culture? And how are organizations addressing this?
Yeah, so mental health stigma is still prevalent in many organizations
Correct.
and in certain parts of the world more than in others,
Correct.
where you cannot show your weakness. So, still, even less so in UK, I would say, but I because I work with international clients, I still can see that people are very scared to talk about their mental health because it looks like a sign of weakness, and
Mm,
people are simply afraid to show that because they can lose their jobs.
mm,
And this is why it makes them even more stressed and
mm,
feel more alone.
mm,
This leads to getting work not done or not properly, avoiding tasks, and even leaving the jobs.
mm.
And this is actually a big problem that costs companies a lot of money.
Well said.
What can companies do better? I think they should start in a company where mental health is not very much spoken about, or there is not such a psychological safety. Is first to teach everyone about mental health and that it's okay to talk about it,
Mm,
not rant, but talk.
mm,
Managers can set a good example by being open and understanding. Companies can also make rules and policies to help a healthier workplace.
mm,
They can start running programs like Mental Gym, for example, to help people support each other in the workplace.
mm. Amazing. And my last question for you, Anastasia.
Mm.
What would you recommend to businesses looking to prioritize mental well-being as a part of their organizational strategy? And of course, one I will answer for you, which is go and reach out to Mental Gym.
Absolutely. So, if you're a business looking to make a mental well being as a part of your company strategy, there are some simple steps you can take.
Mm,
First, as I mentioned earlier, you create a workplace where you can talk about it.
mm,
Just say, okay, it's there and we can talk about it.
mm,
This means training your managers to understand mental health issues and how good conversations they can have good conversations with their team
mm,
members. Um, Another thing is regular check-ins between managers and employees.
mm,
This can go a long way to spotting the problems early and make sure that employees feel supported.
mm,
You know how we say that we shouldn't bring personal issues to work, but
mm.
we do.
Yeah.
In fact, some people go through divorce, some people have ill family members, and you don't talk about it at work,
Yeah.
but you still feel it.
Mm,
So, because you cannot switch your emotions. So, managers have to accept it and deal with it, that sometimes our personal issues can affect our work, but if you talk about it, you can actually deal with it in a constructive way. And another thing I would say to finish off that it's better to prevent mental health issues just than dealing with them as they happen, because then the damage is done. This could mean that organizations can look at how to reduce stress, have some work-life balance, offering resources like employee assistance programs. I think it's also great to ask employees what they need in terms of mental support. Maybe they need certain things that company didn't think about,
mm,
because I think the key here is to remember is that taking care of your employees' mental health is not just good for the employees; it's
mm,
good for the company, for
mm,
performance, for the bottom line.
mm.
And of course, if you're looking for an expert in this area, my business, Mental Gym, can provide tools and support to make mental well-being a core part of your company culture.
Very well said. And on that note, Anastasia, I just want to say thank you so much for speaking to me about your own amazing journey. You know, you've obviously been to a very prestigious university where some really big names have either spoken or uh, been a part of. Thank you for speaking to me about mental health challenges, about mental gym, about some of the misconceptions people have about workplace well-being. Thank you for talking to me about the 4D mental mastery methodology. We also spoke about mindfulness, navigating stress, how you are incorporating ancient wisdom, and we spoke about emotional intelligence. Thank you for speaking to me, and good luck to you.
Thank you, Ashutosh. I appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to the Brand Called You videocast and podcast, a platform that brings you knowledge, experience, and wisdom of hundreds of successful individuals from around the world. Do visit our website www.tbcy.in to watch and listen to the stories of many more individuals. You can also follow us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Just search for the Brand Called You.